Buongiorno, buon pomeriggio, e buonasera, Lazio world. Welcome to our instant reaction pod. Consider this a little Europa League stoppage time as we review Lazio versus Real Sociedad. I'm your host, Sean McIntosh, joined by Stevie Signor Giovedì, our midweek maestro, our Europa League expert. Stevie, welcome back, sir. How are you feeling after that triumphant 3-1 result?
I'm just so pleased that my favorite competition in the world is back.
I mean, talk about this competition being viewed in an entirely different light as we may have looked at it years prior. I freaking love Europa League. I bitched and moaned about the format, the change. It is perfect. Don't change a thing. This is the competition of all competitions. I hope we continue moving forward and playing it. It is fantastic, unless of course we qualify for Champions League. But yeah, this was a lot of fun. So let's jump into this thing where we always do. Starting 11 here. Honestly, Baroni left with very little options, so not too many surprises. A very short bench. Maybe the biggest, or not biggest surprise, but only change would have been Mandas. In keeper position ahead of Provedel, Nuno Tavares, Romagnoli, Gila, Marusic as your backline, your traditional Rovella, Gendouzi. I maybe heard some whispers that one of the two was going to get a break. Nope, they're back. They're back together. Rest is not going to happen for those guys. Zakani, Dia, Isaacson with Tati up top. You know, this one we've talked about our frustrations with Lazio conceding quite early in matches, but this is back-to-back games now that a couple minutes into it, and we find ourselves in front. This time with Gila playing the role of a world-class striker. My goodness, somebody start putting Tati Castellanos in training sessions with Gila, because 5 minutes in, a Tavares free kick lands at Gila's feet after it kind of bounces around in the box, and he just strikes that thing perfectly. 1-0 Lazio. You've got a couple other opportunities. 14 minutes in, really nice piece of work between Sakani, Isaacson, ultimately Dia, really shifty and crafty to avoid defenders. Finds himself kind of one-on-one with the keeper. Tough angle, but earns himself a corner. And then off of that corner, Mr. Unlucky himself, Tati, what looks to be a goal, cleared off the line after a VAR check. It is centimeters, Stevie, that he narrowly misses out on that goal. You think to yourself, like, here we go again, right? Poor Tati. But things really, continued in favor of Lazio 30 minutes in, and Real Sociedad down a man after a second yellow, a really stupid foul. Isaacson absolutely burns his defender, but Isaacson's got a ton of work to do to make it a really dangerous situation. No need to take down the man in that place, but we'll take it. And then 34 minutes, 2 minutes after that, you've got Zakani with an absolutely clean finish, finds the back of the net, and then 2 minutes after that, Tati finds his goal, a nice header. So 3-0 going into half. You kind of you have the sense that we'll kind of ease our way into this. We're clamoring for a Keita appearance, that would come a little bit later, but some interesting changes right before the half. Nuno Tavares down, pulls up with a groin injury. More to come on that. Didn't look great. And you have Dele Bashiru coming in, playing the role of left back for a bit. And then in the second half, we see Gendouzi shift over to a new role for him in place of Nuno Tavares. Marusic filling in that role. And you've got Gendouzi playing in the right back formation, which was quite interesting. We can talk a little bit more of that. But we concede a goal Bit unfortunate, but it ultimately ends 3-1 and sees us top of Europa. Give me your 3 words or less, Stevie, to describe this one.
I don't know if you remember when Grosso and Del Piero scored those goals for the national team in
Oh,
2004.
who could? Of course.
I know. I watch it at least once a year. But the announcer constantly was repeating, "Andiamo a Berlino, Andiamo a Berlino." Well, I read in the newspaper today that the final for the Europa League is in Bilbao, so I'm going to go with "Andiamo a Bilbao" because I really think there's something about this team. The combination of taking it seriously, um, and your players not viewing it as a secondary competition for a lot of our team, whether it's Mandes or Northlin or Chauna. This is their primary route to the first team. So yeah, I'm really excited about this. I don't know if you saw, we only had 2 players, Di Fidade, prior to the match. Of course, both of them picked up yellow, so no Rovella and no Zaccagni for Portugal. But as I put in the text to you earlier, I think it's a dead rubber. We're 3 points ahead at the top of the table, and our goal difference is 7 or 8 goals better than whoever's in second. So I think we're going to finish at the top of the league, which is remarkable.
Yeah, look, that brings me to my 3 words. A really easy top of Europa. You take a look at the standings. All teams have played and completed their 7 matches. Lazio 6 wins, 1 draw, undefeated thus far, 19 points, plus 13 goal differential. Frankfurt in second. There at 16 points with a +6 goal differential. There is quite a margin between those two. And like you said, it looks to be fairly automatic that we find ourselves at the top of the table when this is all said and done. And boy, what a mentality shift from a Lazio team who has taken this competition not so seriously, to put it kindly. And I've always been a bit frustrated, like many Laziali, with that mentality because we aren't a side that finds ourselves in Champions League every single year. And, it is a good competition. We are talking about sides that are in this competition like Manchester United, Tottenham, Lyon, really, really good teams, Ajax. Right? We're talking about important clubs. And so I always hated the fact that we felt like we were too good for this competition as a side that doesn't make Champions League every year. We had a gap of 13 years between Champions League appearances. So it was really always frustrating. And on top of that, this being a route into Champions League. And so it's always really, really disappointing to see. And this mentality, whether it comes from Baroni or obviously your players who see this as a big opportunity, both for playing time, Stevie, and then players that haven't had European competitions before. So, I couldn't be more thrilled about where we are at. And winning breeds winning. So when you win in Europa, it builds confidence for league play. So tell me a little bit about what you saw in this match that really gave Lazio the edge, without the obvious red card. But we were up ahead and playing really, really well prior to that red card. What did you see from the guys?
Yeah, I just think the team was just very confident today. And, the match on the weekend against Verona felt like a friendly. We didn't, it wasn't as intense as most league matches. But I think that, turned us around a little bit. And I think this is going to be the beginning of a nice streak. And I'm really looking forward to smashing Fiorentina this weekend.
Talk about confidence. Look, the confidence has to be there. It's again kind of back on track after some January struggles to start 2025 that had me a little bit worried. And look, we haven't escaped any of those worries. We know work needs to be done on the mercato. We're still really, really light. You looked at our depth in our bench today, and it's alarming. And now you talk about Rovella and Zaccagni being out. That's fortunately it's a game that should have very very little to no consequence. But yeah, I think we've got some work to do. But going into this Fiorentina match, yeah, I guess tell me, you seem very, very confident.
You know, I wanted to just talk briefly about the qualification also because my understanding is if you finish in the top two or top three in the group, which we've guaranteed, maybe top two, there's no difference. So if you finish first or second, it wouldn't matter. Uh, and this really greatly helps improve the association's coefficient. So we defeated
Absolutely.
from Spain, who is battling, tooth and nail with Italy for to get the fifth spot next year. And you know, I very well think we might end up in that fifth spot next year.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, it was just so important, and it's so great. Everybody had a positive result, other than the other team in Rome, which I'm not too displeased with. But yeah, no, I just feel so great. The Fiorentina match was such a disappointment earlier this year because it was so undeserved. The both penalties. I think the first one was probably right. I mean, the second one definitively was not right. But we outplayed them in that match, and they are on a terrible run of form. And I don't know if you saw, I guess normally they play on Thursdays also in that tertiary competition, but that was pushed back. There were no rounds in that competition this week. So it's not like, they can build it up by playing, a small team from a small country and get confidence. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to that one. I think, Sunday night, 8:45, the stadium will be electric. So, yeah, it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, look, Fiorentina winless in 7 matches. So they are certainly trending in the opposite direction. We couldn't catch them at a better time now that we've got 2 important results under our belt. And like you said, the team just felt like they were playing with such confidence all the way around. So give me your man of the match.
Uh, my head says Hila, but I'm going to give it to Isaacson just because I personally don't have a very high bar for him. But he drew 3 fouls that resulted in cautions, 2 to 1 player, which resulted in the sending off. He had the assist on the Zaccagni goal. Yeah, I don't know. I just would I would love to have certainty on the right side of the trident, the way we have on the left side. And, maybe that's impossible for Lazio. I don't know. But, uh, he has a lot of opportunities and he's been with the club for 18 months. I think this is do or die for him. I don't think we'll sell him in January because we don't normally transact in January. But I think if he doesn't push on, I think he'll be replaced in the summer.
Yeah, look, Caleb and I have talked about it. I think he is a player. 18 months is quite enough time, and the player that you kind of see is the odds would tell you that is who he is. I do think he lacks a bit of that killer instinct, and he's got the technical ability. There are so many strengths to him. Last year, it probably looked better than it was because so much of our attack was very stagnant. So it often seemed like a breath of fresh air that he was the one willing to take on defenders. But this season, everybody has license to do that. So it doesn't quite leap off of a page when you see Nuno Tavares and obviously Zaccagni and that side of the pitch looking really strong. And he seems a little bit more timid. So, in terms of value, I think you're right. I think it'd be really tough to sell him now because you've got to then find a replacement, and that player then has to adjust. And I don't think it would be wise to do so, but I do think he is a player that I would probably target as far as offloading this summer because the value for him is only going to go down. Right? I mean, the player, he's at that perfect age where somebody else is going to come in and still hope that they can get another leap from him. I just don't think it could be or should be at Lazio, but I do appreciate you bringing him up as a man of the match. I had the same 2 players that I was looking at, Gila and Isaacson. And so because a little bit of that unfair expectations with Isaacson, when you see a good performance. Caleb and I joked last time that he is just so mid, like he's so perfectly average, that when you see a good performance, it's worth noting and applauding. So I think it's fair to give him man of the match. But Gila set the tone very early, and obviously with the goal, and you love to see that. I mean, that's back-to-back goals where our center backs are scoring, or back-to-back games that our center backs are scoring goals. But there was so many. I mean, you talk about he was so far up the pitch. He was making runs. He was kind of doing all those classic Gila things that you love to see from him, while still playing really well in defense. So I think he really set a tone of just like energetic, and getting everybody else excited. So I thought it was spectacular. Adrian Trito with a shout out to Tati as well for coming up with a goal and assist. And yeah, look, I think that's an important one. We talked about Tati time and time again, and I thought it was going to be one of those games where sometimes it's not his fault. He is a very unlucky player. You look at the goal that he should have scored, could have scored, centimeters from scoring, and you just put your hands, covering your face, because it's like, God, this guy, like it really sucks. You feel for him. But to walk out of this and find his goal and find an assist, I think it's worth mentioning Tati in there too. So maybe on the harder front, Stevie, who was your bidone? Because I really struggled with this one.
Yeah, just to comment on Tati, I mean, he just appears to be the type of individual that is always very confident. So I'm not too concerned with, oh, he got a goal now, he's going to go on a run. I think he'll still keep doing the same things that he does. So I don't consider him a streaky player. We'll see. Maybe he scores 2 this weekend, but maybe TJ Noslin. You know, he. I know it's his first game back from injury, but 6 months in, and other than the one match against Naples, where we're still sort of waiting for him to be the answer. I was almost going to go Balde for losing his attacker on that. I was also almost going to go Balde for man of the match, but yeah, so I'll say no. I don't think anybody in particular played poorly. I thought everybody in the first half played well. In the second half, again, the intensity had come down. I think our possession was 70 to 75%. So, it's difficult to, earmark, any player that made a mistake.
Yeah, it was really tough when you think about the starting 11. I mean, nobody played poorly. I think your poorest performers probably were the ones coming off of the bench, but I think there's a lot of reasons for that. The match had already been done, so your focus is probably a little bit different. And then you're talking about players like Noslin, who said, this is his first match in. He's trying to just get his fitness up. Pedro as well hasn't played in a while. Got a couple minutes last match. Now it's another run at Europa, but there's still players trying to ease their way back in. I thought Pedro was like poor, not his usual sharp self. I think back to the kind of the chance that he had that he just booted into the sky. It was an NFL field goal, which is so rare to see from him. But all in all, like really, really tough to think about when the game was on the line and it mattered, in that first half. I thought it was such a solid performance from everybody all the way around. So,
I mean,
go ahead.
It's a refresh. It's pleasing to be able to say that each player really took their opportunity today with regards to our starting 11, and I don't anticipate there being much change for the weekend.
Well, we've talked a little bit about Fiorentina. You are very, very confident. I am always like a little bit cautious in how confident I want to get. But obviously, it is a massive, massive match because as coefficient stands, we are in a really good place for Serie to be once again rewarded with 5 Champions League spots if we are in that position. Finding a 3-point victory against Fiorentina really makes this a battle between Lazio and Juve for a top four, and obviously in this game of musical chairs, 2 spots between Lazio, Fiorentina, and Juventus. Finding 3 points against Fiorentina really makes it a 2-horse race. So this is a massive game in the weekend. So I know you were confident. I'm a little bit weary, nervous because of how big it is, but all indications would say obviously Lazio comes in with better form. But before we close out here, Stevie, a lot of chatter on the market as usual. Give me your quick 30-second feeling on where the market is and where you see it kind of finishing for Lazio. You there, Stevie? Got some technical difficulties with.
Am I with you?
There you go, Stevie. You want to give me your quick Mercato thoughts, feelings, where you think we'll end up? No.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. No, I think that. Would you be surprised if nothing happened?
No, I wouldn't, but I would be very upset. And usually my expectations are nothing happens, and I'm not upset about the results being that nothing happens. But I would be more upset than I have been in a long time if we are stagnant in this mercato. And really, that's a simple enough reason that we went into this season shorthanded. It is an absolute problem that we did so, and it's a little bit negligent. But now that Baroni has this side on the cusp of Champions League, it is really hard to stomach not doing anything when we have a chance to cement a Champions League spot. And I don't think myself or Laziali are really asking for a lot. At this point, I'm just asking for human life, like a body to be able to play in midfield. And with Patrick very likely to be out for the season, we are in desperate need of somebody that is semi-capable of playing center back. So not asking for a lot, but I do think it is absolutely would be a crime against this Lazio side and Baroni, who are fighting tooth and nail and outperforming all expectations, to not give them a very much needed boost. So that's kind of where I land on it. But look, if things go through, go ahead.
No, but I mean, do you think if they bring in, Casadei or, I mean, I don't know if you look at his history, he's around the same age as Rovella, and he's barely played. I mean, is he really gonna?
Yeah, but see, I think it's really tough to.
Do you think he's gonna have much of an impact?
Yeah, I do. Simply because somebody has to play, and and we cannot run Rovella and Guendouzi into the ground, match in and match out. And God forbid they do get injured, then great. And if you tell me that we sign Casadei and he plays 0 minutes the rest of the season, well, that's a good thing. That means we are not in we have Rovella and Guendouzi, and we're in a good situation. But I think again, it's going to be criminal if we don't bring in a player to be able to spell those guys. And look, I get the comparisons to Rovella. I think it's a little bit unfair though, because they've been in very different situations, right? They played for different clubs, they played in different leagues, and Casadei, sometimes you don't get those opportunities, not because you're not capable or a great player. A lot of it is just situational. So I'm not going to hold that against him. I think he's a player that's always been highly touted, and I think he needs to be given an opportunity. And I do think that Baroni is the right manager to give younger players those chances and get the most out of a player. So, but again, at this point, I'm happy with a warm body. You know, that's my expectation. But
I,
it'll be interesting.
for me, on the flip side, I think if anything were to happen to Rovella or Guendouzi, I think top five is done. So
Oh,
you know,
absolutely. Yeah.
well, so in that instance, bringing in the additional body, does it help?
I mean, yes, because because it's still an unknown. Like I just don't. We can't give up. Like we just can't. That you can't pack it in because a player is out. And I think what this side has shown is the tremendous ability to fight, and despite injuries, despite red cards, they are a side that is. Baroni has this side really being greater than the sum of its parts. So I think it is. I think it would be really demoralizing to just give up. And I don't think this is a side that would give up if they lost Rovella or Guendouzi. Yes, it would be a disaster and it would be highly unfortunate, but why not go out and fight? And why not have a player like Casade or whoever that's going to come in and fight? So, yeah, I think there's still much to believe and fight for, and I expect Baroni to have them doing that up until the very end. So,
We
but
know how
yeah,
involved Lotito is, when it comes to the transfers. He's very hands on compared to other owners. I mean, doesn't he seem really focused on the new Falconer right now? So I just
I mean, look, we all want Olympia flying high in the stadium, but I don't even want to touch that topic. It's gotten enough run by media that loves a good controversy around Lazio, and we always seem to give them plenty of ammunition. But yeah, let's hope for some positive news. We'll definitely be covering it if it happens to be Casade. We've got an expert lined up to chat about him and his time with Chelsea. So we'll see. Fingers crossed. At the moment, we just be excited about our run of form and going into a really big match against Fiorentina. So look, if you love our podcast, you're a big fan of Serie A, of course, if you're a Laziale, make sure to subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Follow us across all social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, X, TikTok. We're there. We want to hear your comments, feedback, be a part of the Lazio World community. But as always, sempre forza.